Welcome back to the Creatively Challenged podcast for Monday, April.
April 2nd.
God.
We're rolling with it.
We're going
it's
with it?
Monday, April 2nd.
Okay.
We've had to re-record this intro 4 times because Ryan doesn't know what the date is tomorrow.
I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Nolan, and I'm here alongside Mike Stukless. Mike, how are you holding up after the 4 or 5 times we tried to do the show here?
Well, last time we fucked up, it was my fault. So
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
No, that was
No, but we didn't even
You were
start
gonna,
it then.
but you were.
But
gonna
I was
record.
going to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we can't say why.
Yeah.
That's
It's
Dan Stewart.
inappropriate.
It's Jaws related.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Stewart, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I already got one of the papers I needed to write this week out of the way today, before we recorded the podcast. So I'm feeling pretty good.
What was the paper about?
It was a revision of another paper I wrote. I probably had to write only like correct 1 to 2 pages of stuff. I had to reword a whole paragraph. But then when I reworded that paragraph, I had to go back and change my thesis statement and kind of correct stuff throughout. So it was kind of the longest revision I've ever written. But it's about journalism ethics.
Oh, that sounds awful.
No, it was pretty fun.
Have you ever been taking like a short essay test and you misread the prompt, so you have to go back after like your first or second paragraph and rewrite the whole thing?
No, because
done it. It's
no,
awful.
because I always like that has happened to me before, to where like I misread a prompt, but then I bullshit my way into like answering the question, even though like maybe like the first like 5 sentences that I wrote like don't answer the question at all. I always find my way to get there. And then like if a teacher marks off points, I'm like, oh well, did you read the whole thing? I know you read those first 5 sentences that don't make sense, but you got to read the whole thing to get my whole answer. So. Yeah. Ryan, how are you? I think you're having a stroke.
I might be.
Do you smell toast?
No,
Burning
but
I thought it was fish.
That's something else.
Oh no, but I wasn't trying to make a joke. I was actually serious.
But Ryan, back to you.
I'm good. We've all had our spring break here, and we're just coming back in Columbia, Missouri. Sunny Columbia, Missouri.
Actually, very cloudy, very gloomy.
It's
supposed to snow.
Put on your tank tops, folks. It's gonna be a warm one.
Oh, is he making an April Fool's joke?
No.
Oh.
It's not.
That'd have been funny too.
Yeah. Because
I'm just having a fucking stroke, Dan, so I don't know
Jesus Christ,
what the
I'm sorry.
temperature is.
Oh.
Well, for the uninitiated here on
This is-
Creatively Challenged, each and every week we talk entertainment news, do a recurring segment, review a movie, and discuss random topics that we bring to this $34 card table
And suffer from strokes.
and suffer from strokes. Y'all ready for the news?
Yeah.
Awesome. Dan, or Mike, you
Mike.
got
Yeah,
Which one of you's Mike?
that's me.
Okay. What's our first?
We are stumbling right now.
It's
All
on
right.
me.
Keep
So,
going.
Marvel news. Shocking. I know. We never talk about
Yeah.
Marvel or DC. Ronan the Accuser, formerly the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy. Agent Coulson, who was in that really gay Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show and was in the Avengers movie, and he was
also in the
good.
first
He was
2
in-
Iron Man movies and
Thor.
the first Thor movie.
Yeah. And Nick Fury, famously played by Samuel L. Jackson, will all be appearing in the Captain Marvel movie starring Brie Larson. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Captain Marvel, but I know that this plot specifically is going to be centered on the struggle between the Kree race, which is of what Ronan is, and
Blue people.
They are blue people. And another one. I should know this.
Skrull.
It's the Skrull, yeah. And her and Jude Law will somehow have a role in it. And what do you guys think of this news?
Well, since it like this film is taking place in the 90s, it makes sense that all these guys are back because Ronan's dead and Coulson's dead and Fury hasn't been seen in a while. But I guess we're gonna see him lose his eye, and I'm all in for eye loss and the loss of vision.
Oh, that's in this.
Yeah, I mean, Thor Ragnarok was a great film because he lost one of his eyes at the end of it. So I'm very excited to see another eye being gouged out. Although his eye isn't gouged out. It looks like it got hit by a blaster or something like that. But I'm very excited for that. And this is good because, Phil Coulson can finally get back on a big screen and not be on that stupid TV show. Nick Fury can be back. And Ronan the Q's.
Ronan the
Ronan,
cutest.
Ronan the cutest. Ronan the cutest. Ronan the accuser can kind of redeem himself for like a very average performance in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, so I'm very excited for that. And there's going to be an awesome space battle with Jude Law in it.
Yeah, Ronan always felt like a secondhand villain because Thanos was literally hovering over him in the movie. And he got by for me because he did cool stuff. His staff was
but
like
just
all
because
that was
you
cool,
have
but
a
as
deep,
a character,
just
he
because you
wasn't.
have a deep voice and a big staff doesn't make you a best villain. You know?
Yeah. So I think, and Ben Mendelsohn's also in this movie, and I think he's gonna play a Skrull. I hope they really get into the politics, actually, of how much of an asshole Ronan was.
He's gonna play like a scroll.
Yeah,
like the
Like
map,
a paper scroll.
like the map from Dora.
Yeah, the Elder Skrull. That's gonna be his character name.
Jesus Christ! All right, Ryan, what are your thoughts?
It
on
makes a lot of
the
sense.
Scroll.
It makes a lot of sense that Ronan is in the movie because Carol Danvers, who is Brie Larson's character, gets her powers from the Kree race. So him being involved makes some sense. And I'm interested to see the Skrulls come to screen because they're a major player in the Marvel universe. We're going to see some shape-shifting business because that's what they're all about. So there can be some intrigue and mystery to that. So I'm excited to see what comes out of those two races being involved because I do think that despite Thanos being in the new movie, the cosmic universe is a little underutilized. And I think I'm very happy to see them expanding on that. Now, do you guys have anything else on this? Because I had something I was going to say.
Does Doctor Strange ever talk to these guys? Because Doctor Strange is like the key to Earth and like the rest of the world, and I feel like, or the rest of the worlds, and I feel like he's gonna like be a huge part going forward of like connecting the space universe to the Earth.
That's possible.
Usually,
but this is the '90s. He's not a doctor yet.
I haven't read a whole lot of Doctor Strange, but I know that he usually isn't cosmic related. He doesn't go out on space ventures as much as he just does like dimensional shit with more magic related than space stuff, if I remember correctly. So I don't know if he normally gets involved here. I don't know if we're gonna see. Well, we won't see him in the movie.
They dabbled with it in Thor. They dabbled with him getting
like he's
involved in the cosmic
because he's
in
like
Thor.
he projected like he's protecting Earth. Like as soon as Loki and Thor like stepped foot into New York, like Doctor Strange knew about it and like stopped it, and then he knew where Odin was and everything like that. So maybe that's the way they're going with the movies.
He doesn't exist in this part of time, though.
Yeah,
right?
but so this is
good point.
This is
That's a great point.
Yeah, this is 20 years before the Doctor Strange film. So I don't know. Maybe we see Tilda Swinton bald in it.
Yeah, she'll be bald.
Yeah.
Is that all we have on this? Because it's
Yeah,
something
you had
I
something
forgot
else,
to tell you guys about. I have the login access for the YouTube account, and I was very excited, Dan, on our episode that we recorded last week, and for Mike.
Mhm.
We got a comment. We got a comment from user Pokehan, and he said, "I thought it was good." That was it.
We love you, Pokehan.
Did you give him a thumbs up?
Yeah, of course I did. Thank you for commenting. I'm glad you thought it was good. I'm glad. I don't know what part, but if you meant all of it, there we go. So that's a.
Well, Pokehan.
Han Solo.
Pokehan.
It's with an O though. It's not like Han Solo.
Oh,
it's like Han Solo.
Pokehon.
Poke Hope Solo.
Pokehan.
Pocahontas.
Pokehan.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
What did you want to say?
Thanks for listening, Pokehan. I hope you've enjoyed this 9 minutes of crap so far.
Hope he thinks this is good. If he thinks it's good again, he should just say the same thing.
Yeah. This is good.
Hey.
We are recording the podcast for Pokehan's approval.
By
Whether
the
or not
way,
it's good.
I screwed up. Did you guys see that John Hamm is maybe going to play like Mr. Sinister?
Really?
Yeah, they said that he was maybe going to appear in like that New Mutants movie, but he didn't.
Oh Jesus.
But still, like that would be awesome.
I feel like superhero is the last thing John Hamm will do, but if we're approaching it, hell, John Hamm could be a superhero, and then he'll just have done everything.
right?
They have delayed X-Men Dark Phoenix and New Mutants again. So like they were both delayed like a year and a half out, and now they've got further delayed. So I don't know what's going on.
But
Well, to relate that to our next story, uh,
yeah.
Donald Glover's FX Deadpool animated TV series was scrapped the other day, even though he had written an entire season. There are a few things that are rumored to be the cause behind it, but the main one and the one that seems to hold the most water is that he and Disney had creative differences with the show. After Disney's buyout of Fox and the superhero properties that belong to it, this isn't surprising. Disney's taking over. All these X-Men movies are being pushed back so Disney can reshoot them. These X-Men TV shows that are on Fox or FX are getting canceled or just restructured. So I'm not surprised that happened to Donald Glover's show, though. He put on Twitter like a script that he wrote in 2 days when he found out that the show was being canceled, and it's titled The Finale, and it was really funny. And now I'm upset that it's not going to happen. But I mean, Disney wants what's best for their corporation, and I hope Donald Glover can maybe work with them to go forward and maybe put the show on Netflix, because that's where Disney Marvel's kind of succeeding in their TV department, but I don't know what's going to happen now. What do you guys think of this cancellation of the Deadpool animated show?
I think it's exactly that. I think it's the same thing with the X-Men movies. I just think Disney's coming in and they're kind of putting their blueprint on everything. It's the Disney way, and it's just not that surprising with me. Like Ryan literally just said, the X-Men movie's getting pushed back, and that could be due to content, but I really don't think it is. I think Disney just kind of wants to do it their way, because I think in the long run they want to merge everything together. So I think that they're already trying to plant those seeds, and Deadpool's just not a part of it because they already have shows like Legion and that on FX. And they already have a Deadpool movie, obviously. So I just don't think it's part of their future, and that's why it was canceled.
Every time we say Disney's moving something, I picture like Mickey going like, "Whoa, this isn't gonna work." He's like putting it back.
He like moves a place on a map. There was like a pin in there, and he just moves it somewhere else.
And he's got like a tie
on. Yeah, Disney is like just scrapping shit. They're moving it to where they want it to be. I say if they didn't see it in their sort of schedule, get it out of there. Even though it was an inspired thing, like they have some sort of idea of what they want to be putting on FX, and that doesn't mean that it's gone.
And that doesn't mean FX doesn't have the movies.
FX has the movies.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we don't know that it's done. It just isn't going on FX, and Disney is launching a streaming service, so maybe it has a place there. Disney owns those scripts, so they can do what they want with it in the future. So it's not totally dead.
I want to see this come back because Donald Glover's a very creative talent, and Disney severing ties with him and his writing ability is not smart, considering he's about to be Lando Calrissian in a huge Star Wars movie for them next month. So, we'll see what happens.
He already has Atlanta going on and stuff, so.
And he's rapping. He's rapping again.
Yeah,
so
he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Our next story. Westworld Season 2 has an official trailer dropped 4 days ago. No, that's not right. A few days ago, it dropped. And it's to promote its Season 2 premiere, which comes on April 22nd. That's a Sunday at 9 p.m. on HBO. What did you guys think of this trailer?
It was fun. I mean, it got me really excited. It showed some of the ninja world. That's what it is, ninjas or samurais?
I think it's
Samurais.
Samurai.
Well, yeah, it looks cool. Like the teaser we got like a little while back, it's just kind of like more of the same, just a little bit more content. Still kind of don't know where the story's going to go. It's seeming like it's heavily going to focus on Dolores, but as we know, the first season of Westworld, there was kind of like 5 points of view. And not just Dolores's. So I assume the second season is going to take the same kind of thing where we're going to have multiple points of view and different character motives, and we're going to spend a few like different times of different episodes with different characters. I'm expecting more of the same, but I'm also expecting to get my mind blown once again by the step forward that the show is taking into their samurai world.
So it looks like the main storyline is going to be the AIs headed by Dolores against the humans headed by Ed Harris, is my guess. That's kind of the war taking place. And I think the side stories are going to be Bernard is obviously in with the humans, and he's going to be helping out the hosts in turn, and like an espionage way. And I think Maeve is going to be the one that pushes the boundaries of the park, and she's the one that's going to go to the samurai world. So I think they're
she's
all
looking for her daughter.
yeah. So they're all going to be pushing the story in different ways.
They could just build another one of her daughters. You ever think about that?
Exactly.
But
That's
she
the,
wants
that's
her
the, that's the
daughter.
point. But she wants her daughter. That was the whole conflict of hers, it seems.
She's probably like in the trash somewhere in Westworld.
Did you guys see Jimmy Simpson reappear?
No.
McPoyle. Yeah, he was
Oh.
in the trailer. He had a brief.
I was watching it while I was pooping, so I missed a lot of details.
Well, there's like a long time in between Jimmy Simpson and the Man in Black to where they could
Yeah.
tell the story. So I'm not surprised that he's back. He was a fan favorite.
I also like that it seems like they're keeping that Arnold and Dolores contrast going, or whatever it is. That seemed like another big highlight of how Dolores finds herself. Whether she's imagining that or whatever, I think it's a really cool thing that leads to her self-discovery.
Yeah.
I'm excited to wear our cowboy hats again on Sunday nights to watch the show.
We have to get some cigars too.
Let's get guns.
Let's
Let's kick our teeth with
Let's
them.
kill ourselves.
Well, if there's one thing the first season taught us is that you can't say where the show's gonna go exactly, and so we could speculate all day, but it just looks like it's gonna be a fun ride this season.
People are gonna die.
People will die.
True.
Yeah. What's our next story?
Earlier this week, prior to Ready Player One's release, Carl's Jr. had these new like little slider things, and Steven Spielberg endorsed those Carl's Jr. sliders as delicious, but he won't allow them to use his likeness to call them Spielburgers, and he did this.
Yes, this is a story.
He did this in a video where he's like, yeah, these burgers are delicious, but C&D, cease and desist, you guys can't do it. And he was very apologetic, but it's kind of a stingy thing for Spielberg to do. But I get it, because, then he'd have to really cut into Carl's Jr. profits. I would have gone to buy some Spielburgers if they were available.
I'll tell you what, like, it's so, he clearly, in the video, had never had the sliders, and he was just trying to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg does not eat Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
No.
He was just walking down. He was like,
He's like,
walking
they're delicious.
around.
It's like,
He's
okay.
like walking around in his house like he just got up from the couch, and he was just like, what the fuck?
I'm going to set the record straight.
He's like, no.
Hey, he was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
they're delicious. But cease and desist, or I will take your ass to court and take all the money you have. And then he'll own his own burger restaurant. He'll eliminate all the Carl's Jr. and Hardee's, call them Spielburgers, and then he makes all of the profits.
And then direct a movie about how Spielberger started.
Yeah. Starring Michael Keaton as Steven Spielberg.
No, Tom Hanks. He always works with Tom Hanks.
I know.
I
was
get the
making a
joke you were
founder
going
joke.
for.
I want to see like Patton Oswalt play Steven Spielberg. That'd be fun.
I like Patton Oswalt in
No.
AP Bio.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else.
No.
Who would be like the worst person to cast as Steven Spielberg?
A Catholic.
Carl Reiner.
Whoopi.
Yeah, Whoopi would be terrible. It's a different race.
Patrick Swayze, because he's dead.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Don Rickles.
Oh
He's
Jesus.
also dead.
Who else is dead?
Alan Rickman.
Okay.
Paul Newman's dead. Eli Wallach's dead.
Welcome to the Who's Dead podcast, where we gather.
This is a sinking ship episode. That's what this is.
Well, is that all we have on this?
There are better burger joints out there than Carl's Jr., and I'm glad that they're. I just got a notification on my computer that Google Docs has crashed, but that's not affecting our show, I don't think. So, there are better burgers out there than Carl's Jr.'s little sliders.
Yeah. Maybe he would have accepted if it was like Five Guys. Well,
I like Five Guys, dude.
our final news story of the week. Director Colin Trevorrow is officially returning to direct Jurassic World 3, and I don't care.
Not in the slightest.
That is all I have on this. I don't care for this guy anymore. And I don't get excited when I see his name on things.
He got shanghaied by Disney, and he said, all right, I have nothing else going on. Might as well return to this
Yeah.
trilogy after the second one's about to blow chunks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, this is good because this means that he is not getting involved in any more Star Wars projects. And good God, could you imagine? I mean, like, J.J. Abrams has to make everybody love Star Wars again because The Last Jedi was so divisive.
he's going to be nostalgic again. And I'm fine
That's
with it.
what he needs to do.
Yeah.
He's gonna remake Return of the Jedi, and I'm perfectly okay with it. But I'm so glad Colin Trevorrow isn't doing that. He can go make another shitty movie, and he can bring back Sam Neill and Laura Dern for that, and just make a goddamn terrible movie. So fuck this guy.
I hope that doesn't happen. They shouldn't. We've said it every time this movie comes up, this franchise comes up. Just fucking stop.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, and I have been adamant that I did like Jurassic, like a 3.5 Goldblums. That's how I felt. I enjoyed it, and I didn't think the action was shot poorly, but terrible story. And the third one's gonna have a terrible story. He's probably gonna weaponize the raptors like he was talking about doing in the first one.
What is there to do?
Yeah.
This one looks to be like. Okay, they haven't done like a meteor or volcano that takes out all the dinosaurs. There hasn't been a Jurassic Park like that so far. So this one's already a little bit different. But you want to know what? Once again, the ethical issue of whether or not the park should be open is questioned in this movie. Guess what? It shouldn't be open. And now there's going to be another movie after this one coming out in the summer, and I'm over it, Ryan.
Well, I'm over this news topic.
Yeah.
Is that all we have?
Yeah. Moving on.
What's our recurring topic?
Guess
this
what?
week?
These recurring topics just keep on recurring like a boomerang, but Mike's going to talk more about that because this was his idea.
Yeah, this is your fucking idea, Mike.
Yeah.
What is your idea this week? I'm excited for it.
So when Dan texted us earlier this week, he said, what should be our top 5? I don't know if that was the exact phrasing, but it was something
we don't need
something
to look
along
back.
those
I can
lines.
look it up.
Oh
I
my
won't,
God.
I won't, I won't be
And
slandered.
so, as we are all big Western fans,
We've got to do
okay.
a top 5 this week. Any ideas?
yeah,
And then Mike said, I've kind of been wanting to do top 5 cowboy/gunslingers.
there it is.
And I said, I'm in for that. And then Mike said, dope.
I didn't respond. I was not available at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were okay with it. I was worried.
You still don't know.
Ryan, are you okay with it?
So
It's fine. Just do the topic.
we're all big Western guys. So I'm like, this is something I think we'd all get a lot of cool, different answers, and so many great Western movies dating back to fucking beginning of cinema. So we're gonna take a deep dive here and do the top 5, whatever you want to call it, cowboys, gunslingers, whatever. And Ryan, we'll start with you.
We're gonna go in the normal rotation, no particular order.
Yeah.
I have to ask that
Even
every
though
time
my-
we do.
even
Well, for
though-
us,
even-
we do the
Even
order,
though mine
but it's
are in a
okay.
particular
Yeah.
order.
I'm not doing any order.
It's okay.
I go
I'm not
five.
adhering to this.
As long as you do the
I go
list.
5-1.
Well, my first one, which is yet again in no particular order, is the man with no name, played by Clint Eastwood in several Sergio Leone movies from the 70s. This is just the cowboy Clint Eastwood plays, and it's basically the same character with the same traits in every movie, and he does it so well that Sergio Leone's just said, hey, let's do this for 2 other movies after this one, and they did it.
Each getting better.
Yeah, and it was ironed out by the 3rd time. It was
And
great.
there is no way you don't watch any of those movies and not want to smoke a cigar after number 1, and number 2, get a poncho, and number 3, get a pistol with a snake grip.
Oh, yeah.
All
yeah.
iconic
And then
attributes.
get shot in the chest, but then have a like a metal thing on so that you don't get shot.
That scene is awesome.
I've had that feeling in the morning.
And then have your DeLorean pushed by a train.
Different movie. But yeah, like no one's rocked a poncho since, and I don't know if anyone rocked a poncho before that.
No, he did that and it couldn't be done again.
No,
No.
it's over. Ponchos are ruined.
Except for when they hand them out for free at ballparks when it's gonna rain.
Like the plastic trash bag ones.
Yeah.
Not as cool. If you had a gun and a cigar with one of those on it,
You
like,
look like an
get
asshole.
away from this guy.
I'd be pretty intimidated by that.
Yeah, I would go to the other side of the street if you were walking on it toward me like that.
Yeah.
What's yours, Dan?
My number 5 is John Wick, one of the new guys on the field in terms of gunslingers. John Wick does like gun fu, which is like fighting with guns. But Keanu Reeves actually went through an incredible training program to make sure that like he is like an actual sharpshooter. Like you should see this video of Keanu
nuts.
Reeves going through a gun course. Keanu Reeves actually trained to be a deadly assassin to be John Wick. So basically, Keanu Reeves is John Wick, and the two movies are incredible. There's a TV show coming out, and John Wick Chapter 3 at some point in time, and they're great movies. John Wick is an awesome hero, and just his gun work is awesome. If you're the type of person who just loves watching people get shot, watch John Wick because his gun work is incredible.
How Die Hard is remembered as like the action movie of the 80s, I am so confident that John Wick's going to be remembered as the action movie or movies of the 2000s,
Oh, yeah.
like 2010s or whatever. I mean, it has a huge cult following already, and they're so much fun. I actually forgot about to include him, but it's okay.
It's good that we have differing ones.
Yeah.
We don't want to have.
You
the
just
same
made me have a
five.
thought. That's a good idea to have John Wick on here, by the way. I didn't even think of doing anyone that like wasn't in a period
Yeah, he's
piece.
definitely a gunslinger.
Yeah, like that's a really good idea. But those movies at no point tell you that he's a good person. But yeah, we root for it. Like I think that's really interesting. There's no insight into who he was before the events of the first movie, and there's not really any indication of if he's a good person in the movies themselves. They just just want to watch him survive.
Yeah, and
No.
kind of like The Man with No Name, it's his small actions that make him sympathetic.
Yeah, like the dog.
The dog.
Yeah.
But then in the second one, well, we can't really talk about.
Nate definitely talked about it. It already came out.
Okay,
like a
well, it
year
came out
ago.
like over a year ago.
Yeah.
Well, in the second one, he kills on continental grounds. Like that's not good.
Mm-mm.
He blows that guy's head off.
Yeah, he lets his passion kind of get in the way of like the work, and he's already built up a respective deed. The only reason he's getting a so the way the second movie ends is like everybody in the world's after him. There's now a bounty put on John Wick's head, and beforehand you didn't want him coming after you, but now the whole world is after him. So I like the plot shift, and the only reason he got a head start at the end of the second one for the third one is because he was respectable, not because he was liked, but because he was respectable.
Right.
So, and we saw that Ian McShane has like 1 million agents, and they all looked at him, and they all could have taken him out, but they didn't, and they let him get a head start. So
You know what? I still might take John Wick in that bet with all of them going after him.
we're gonna see that in the
Yeah.
third movie.
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah.
excited for it.
So I couldn't do it without having a couple honorable mentions. You already mentioned one, The Man with No Name, and Harmonica, played by Charles Bronson from Once Upon a Time in the West. Just two badass.
I'd call him an
individuals.
honorable mention of mine because I was thinking about him, but I took him off.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
So my number 5 is played by Russell Crowe in 3:10 to Yuma, Ben Wade, who I'm going to be referencing a lot of quotes from the guys on my list because they have just iconic lines. And the one for Ben Wade is, "Even bad men love their mamas." Great line. And not only is he cool for that reason, but he's cool because throughout the movie, you see him becoming not a good guy, but he starts using his killer instinct in good ways to help out Christian Bale's character, who's just in a heap of mess. And not only is he cool for doing that, but he's also awesome because his fucking gun is called the Hand of God, and it has a golden cross on it. I mean, Jesus Christ, do you want more of an awesome reputation? So, yeah. One of my favorite modern Westerns, and definitely because of Russell Crowe. He's awesome in that movie.
Don't forget Logan Lerman.
Yeah, he was good in that movie, too. That was like a good starter movie for him. Ben Foster's in that movie, too, and he is a ginormous prick.
So is Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Let's just
And
name
Russell Crowe.
Let's just name the whole cast.
My next is a duo, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yep.
Really cool movie with the theme of the dying West and them not having a place in the new world. It's a really good movie with a name that might not be appealing to modern audiences, I think.
Everybody's
I mean,
got
if
to
you-
sit down and watch that movie at some point. In
Yeah.
time,
The knife fight scene.
yeah.
So
But like,
cool.
if you tell a 14-year-old, "Hey, you want to watch Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?" They're gonna be like, "What?" You know, like. But then they'd sit down and watch it and be like, "This is awesome, right?"
Yeah.
Do you like that we see him not get torn to shreds at the end
It's
of the
awesome.
movie?
Yeah,
Yeah, because they're not good guys, but they're respectable guys, and they're played by Paul Newman and Robert Redford. So, you don't want to see those guys get. And Catherine Ross is in it, and she's hot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, they're great movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dan, what's yours?
I'm with you.
My number 4 was your number 5. Well, not really though, because you didn't put him in
It's just
any
one of 'em.
particular order. The Man with No Name, Clint Eastwood. What else can you say? You know, I mean, just the epitome of cowboy. Sorry, John Wayne, but Man with No Name is incredible.
Are you okay? I thought you were just saying Clint Eastwood as a blanket, like just Clint Eastwood, because he
You could use that.
I've never seen Unforgiven. Is he different in that movie than he is in all the other
I'm
westerns?
I'm gonna explain why later.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got it.
Because I really want to see that.
I
But
knew
Yeah.
someone was gonna have it, but
why do you love him, Dan?
I mean, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is just like the ultimate Western in my opinion. Like, it's just the long shots, the music, just the stand down at the or the standoff at the end of the movie is just like it's so it's perfect. And he is a character who literally doesn't have a name.
Blondie.
Yeah.
That's a name.
Yeah, like he's just, like, he's so cool, just ultimate cowboy.
What's so amazing about
Makes
that
my top
movie
5.
is it's literally the title. You have the protagonist, the antagonist, and the anti-hero, and that's it.
No.
And that's your storyline, and
That's
it's
it.
so
They
cool.
tell you what it's about, and it's just
And 3 guys hunting for the same thing. It's awesome. So, are you done?
yeah. I mean, if I feel like all 3 of us are going to talk about him, so I mean, how extensive can we get into it?
A lot.
Sure.
Podcast of the Man with No Name.
Yeah.
My number 4 is another villain from ultimately my favorite Western, which I already talked about with harmonica, Once Upon a Time in the West, which is Frank, played by Henry Fonda, is my number 4. And it's not so much as this character is unique in any sort. Like, there have been a lot of Western baddies like Frank, but I don't think this character plays as well if Henry Fonda's not playing him.
I agree.
It's the first time you see him where you see it, just the close up on his blue eyes, and and he's kind of comforting in some scenes, and then in other scenes he's fucking kicking the
And he
cripples.
spits his dip out really
yeah,
disgustingly.
Yeah,
they
and he's
zoom in on
smacking
him.
Charles
Yeah.
Bronson. He does a lot of repulsive. Shoots a kid.
Yeah.
He does a lot of repulsive things in this movie. And again, another quote, people scare better when they're dying. Another fantastic line. So I just think that when I think of Henry Fonda, there's a lot of roles you can think of. I think of this one.
12 Angry Men.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot. But I think of this one because of how different it is. Because it combines that soft-spokenness with a bit of an edge you haven't seen
But he's
before.
bad.
But he's
Yeah.
bad. And he's a really bad dude. So, and he, by the end, his own crew turns on him. And again, another great standoff with him and Charles Bronson. So, yeah, I'm going with Frank from Once Upon a Time in the West.
It's that thing like with John Wick where he has that respect, but because it's of fear.
Mhm.
It's not of love. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Frank."
Well, remember at the end, right before the duel, because we just watched it a couple weeks ago when he's riding up, and you're just like, "Oh my God, he is terrifying."
That scene where he shoots the kid's kind of funny.
Oh yeah,
Hilarious.
that goes down as like one of the greatest things in comedy.
Yeah.
My next one is the Waco Kid, played by Gene Wilder in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
That movie is just wacky as hell. If you ever get a chance to see it in theaters, it's really good too. to watch it with an audience. But I love Mel Brooks movies, and Gene Wilder's a gem, and he's especially good in that movie. So just the Waco Kid.
Did you know, and this is not to get off topic, but we just saw Ready Player One. Steven Spielberg wanted Gene Wilder to play Halliday.
Oh, he totally looked like him with the hair too.
Yeah.
But
That's too bad.
But yeah, that's a good one. And the scene where they're talking like about his hand being steady or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
like fucking so blown out
Blazing
of proportion.
Saddles is so funny. It's one of like you know how like when you were a kid and you couldn't like watch like dad's movies, you know, like that was like one of dad's movies. That was like the first dad movie I watched, and it still to this day is so funny. And oh my God, Gene Wilder pushes that forward.
Mel Brooks has spoofed like every genre. He spoofed the Western, he spoofed the sci-fi with Spaceballs, and he spoofed the horror with Frankenstein.
Well, he did another one where he ripped on Hitchcock, where he
Right.
actually did what's it called? But he does like the birds, and instead of them like attacking, they like shit on him. It's really funny.
That's a movie?
It's really funny. And then like there's this like scene where they're talking about like stuff, and they're trying to like raise the exposition, and then they're like playing this scary music, and he's like looking around, and then like a band drives by, and they're like playing like they're playing like scary music. It's really funny. I don't even know the title of the movie. I'll have to look it up, but I've never seen it. I've only seen clips from it and like this Mel Brooks documentary. Mel Brooks, yeah. The librarian Mel Brooks.
That's the guy who wrote all the Mel Brooks movies.
Yeah.
Pen name.
Yeah.
Pen name.
Mel Brooks.
Oh, what's yours, Dan?
No.
Wait.
Wait. Oh, yeah. No, it's
I
Dan's
just
turn.
went.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got off topic.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Han Solo from Star Wars. Like the gunslinger in the Star Wars universe. Han Solo epitomizes like the cool space cowboy, but he isn't written by Steve Miller. Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a reference to the song "The Joker" by the Steve Miller Band. But Han Solo, just his quick draw and his shots. Han Solo shot first. He's an anti-hero in the Star Wars universe, even though edits make him look like a good guy. The whole point of Han Solo is supposed to be he's very in the middle, but at the end of the day, he's a good guy. But you know, you're supposed to figure out yourself, and I mean, just a lot of classic Star Wars lines are Han Solo, but you know, one of the all-time best ones is when Leia says, "I love you," and he says, "I know," and he sinks down into the carbonite.
Or in that as well, or in the Family Guy version when he says "fuck off."
Yeah. But God, that lucky shot, huh?
Yeah.
In the very first Star Wars movie, where like they're boarding the Millennium Falcon, and like you hear the stormtroopers go over there, and there's a shot, and Han Solo looks like shocked, and he just rips one off and kills 2 stormtroopers with one shot. Oh, it's incredible.
It is. I will explicitly say that my number 1 and 2, I kept it to Western, but my 1 and 2 would have been Han Solo and Star-Lord. But I tried to stay away from the Space Cowboys. I just tried to keep it.
I was gonna put Star-Lord, and then I'm like, Han Solo is the ultimate space cowboy.
You could tell how much Star-Lord is influenced, especially in the movies nowadays, off of Han Solo. Yeah. So my number 3 comes from a more recent Western, and that would be Django Unchained. Dr. King Schultz, played beautifully by Christoph Waltz. Yeah. I mean, oh my God, what a great and hilarious performance. Everyone that walked out of Django Unchained, like, before the movie, I don't think they knew who Christoph Waltz was, unless you were a movie buff and you saw Inglourious Basterds. But everyone, he's like the pop culture figure from that movie, because he's got the long beard, and he's got the fucking Derringer in his wrist that he kills people with, and his line after he shoots Leo, and he's like, "I couldn't resist," and then he dies. He's just everything he does is hilarious, but also done with like the right amount of badassery, and just again with you could pick any number of his lines, and they're all fantastic. And he is like the good white guy in that movie.
Yeah.
He's a foreigner.
Love Dr. King Schultz and love Christoph Waltz's performance. The Derringer shot was a reference to McCabe and Mrs. Miller, a western back in the day that stars Warren Beatty. And at the end of the film, and the whole thing, like with him too, is that he's a terrible piece of shit. Like he runs a whorehouse, but like there's sympathy about him, and he spoiler alert about McCabe and Mrs. Miller, but it's been on since 1971. Go check it out. But yeah, he fires off a Derringer shot at the end to kill the bad guy, and then he
takes it,
and then he dies himself, and that's the reference to it in Django Unchained.
There have been a lot of Django references it. It's also used in the show Justified. Like the Derringer is such a cool weapon because you don't see it, and then suddenly it's in the guy's hand because it's a mechanism. But yeah,
Dr. King Schultz, great bounty hunter, terrible dentist.
Yeah. Keeps money up in that big tooth of his.
Yeah, he does. Don't tell anyone.
No.
My next one is the Man in Black from Westworld. Can we do spoilers? It's been 2 years.
Yes.
Okay. The incredible arc we are able to just sit back and watch with William to becoming this corporate giant that he is in the show. We don't know the whole path he's taken yet, but we know what happens to him. He loses everything, and he doesn't care what happens to him anymore, and he's just trying to look for a purpose, and he's just a blank slate. And I think there's just something really unsettling about him, and I've always enjoyed any of the scenes with him in Westworld. I think most people do.
that fucking smirk he has on his face when he like walks into a room and he knows he's just gonna kill people. And like, remember in that flashback sequence when he like scalps Maeve and shit? It's just like, you have some problems.
Yeah.
You need a therapist, because if your therapy is coming to this park and murdering a genocide amount of people, you have some problems. That's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. It's a great show. I'm excited for it to come back.
Season 2, April 22nd, 9 p.m. on HBO.
9 p.m. Central?
I don't know.
8 p.m. Central.
8
HBO
p.m.
time.
8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. West Coast, Pacific. Oh. I don't know Mountain Time.
They don't matter.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
My number 2 is Doc Holliday, more specifically Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday from Tombstone. I'm Your Huckleberry. And just one of the most quotable like characters in film history, really. Doc Holliday is just it's a real piece of shit. He as well, a dentist or doctor or something.
Yeah, Dr. King Schultz is based off of Doc Holliday.
A dentist, and yeah, he's not a dentist. He is a gunslinger and a gambler, degenerate drinker, and then he dies. But he
tuberculosis
of TB, but he dies shooting, and God, R.I.P. in peace to Doc Holliday. But nothing will ever top Val Kilmer's performance ever. Like,
yeah, he peaks with that role.
Yeah, that was just, if you haven't seen Tombstone, go watch Tombstone, and the best part of it is Val Kilmer. I will tell you that right now.
He kills a lot of people with definitely a sociopath.
I got 2 guns, one for each of you.
Yeah, because he's drunk and he can't see.
Yeah.
He probably seeing double. Yeah, that's another one I forgot.
You forgot Doc Holliday?
Yeah, dude, there are so many.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned them. This would have been easier for a top 10 for me because there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
You want to take a pee?
Yeah.
Go do it in the hallway.
My number 2.
The hallway outside of our apartment smells like pee. So.
My number 2 is the ultimate baddie, the ultimate Western baddie ever, and that is literally the bad, Angel Eyes, in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Did you have him, Ryan? Yeah, I mean, he's amazing. He's fucking Lee Van Cleef played this role, and then for the rest of his career made shitty westerns because he just fit the mold so well. And of the three, he has the least amount of screen time. But I always remember his scenes
But
because
he's the bad.
But he's the bad, and when he appears, like hell follows with him, and he is nasty. Just that first scene you see him when he puts the pillow over the guy's face. I think unloads all 6 shots into his head and laughs, and then it just does the music. And it's
Yeah, we talked about him is Angel Eyes from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You know, he's just the classic bad guy. You know, anything you guys had on him?
What, like, I mean, everybody remembers the hero, but when a movie is remembered for a villain, then you got yourself an all-time classic, and Angel Eyes is.
just his name. Angel Eyes is an absolutely terrifying name, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My number one is the best movie cowboy ever of all time. That's Sheriff Woody from the Toy Story series. Voiced by Tim Hanks, Tom Hanks. Woody is just like Woody grew up. He's my favorite Disney character ever. Like I just grew up with Toy Story and just watching those movies over and over again. Like Woody got me into the whole like Western thing and cowboys and horses and whatnot and Sheriff Woody.
You know what? After 3, he wasn't that great because Andy just abandons him. You know what I mean? He must suck a little bit.
He was going to take him
I'm
to college.
Kidding. I'm kidding.
Woody abandoned Andy.
I'm kidding.
Because he had to make the choice.
Yeah.
I made the choice that Andy didn't. I brought Woody to college because Andy did not. I have Sheriff Woody.
Did you put a snake in his boot?
No. There apparently already was one in his boot.
It's pretty unsafe.
What kind of snake was it? It's probably a rattler, right?
What if it was like a rattlesnake? He keeps biting him.
I don't mess with rattlers, dude.
No, absolutely not. They're terrifying.
They are. They go. What's your number one?
My number one, who we were talking about earlier when you were asking about Unforgiven, is William Money. And not for the fact that Unforgiven's like my favorite movie or anything like that, or even this character is amazing. It's just I needed to pick one Clint Eastwood character because they're all so great. And I like this one the most because it's the culmination of all of his characters. Because at the beginning of this movie, you kind of see this depressed old man who's just beaten down by his past, and it works really well because you've seen Clint Eastwood and so many other things of all the good and bad he's done, and it's just led to this point in his life, and it works really well because Clint Eastwood's so iconic already, so the backstory kind of explains itself. And as the movie goes along, you see him, pick the bottle back up and become just more of he gets back to his roots by the end, and he's an absolute badass, and he goes into the saloon and kills everybody. And then Gene Hackman's like, I was building a house. I don't deserve this. And he's like, it ain't got nothing to do with deserving. And he fucking kills him, and then he shits on him and walks out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, William Money. That's number one. He's fantastic.
I've never seen this movie. Have you seen it, Dan?
Have
you seen Unforgiven?
No.
Okay. Well, you're the minority on this one.
I'm not, because it won Best Picture.
Well, okay. Well, there you go.
So did Shape of Water.
A lot of movies have, yeah.
Yeah, 90 of them.
So yeah, what a great way to end our segment.
All right, we're gonna be real with you guys. About like 3 minutes ago, in actual recording time, our software just kind of pooped out, but really it didn't. It kept recording. Nothing broke with it, but my computer looked like it was having a stroke, much like Ryan at the
Much like
beginning
Ryan.
of the episode. So we like stopped in the middle. So that's why our conversation didn't really flow. Um, so our number ones weren't as eventful as our other four, but that's okay. You know.
The lists are complete.
Yeah.
And Ryan had no particular order.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal for me, because I'm just humble and make them all equal.
You know what I'm surprised you didn't? Yeah, because you're so much better.
I'm probably like the most humble
you're
person
so
I know.
you're so inclusive. You're so brave.
Thanks.
It's 2018.
What I'm surprised you didn't say was when you said Lee Van Cleef's Angel Eyes, what you always say when he comes up is, you're like, oh, that's a tall drink of water right there.
It's implied.
Yeah.
It's implied.
It's implied.
Yeah, but that is it. That is our top 5 gunslingers and cowboys in movie or television. But if you're Pokehan or if you're anybody else, be like Pokehan and comment on our video, and let us know who your top 5 gunslingers / cowboys are in movie and television. We'd love to hear them. Or if you have another idea for our other recurring segments, please let us know. But, Ryan.
We saw a movie this week. We saw Ready Player One, directed by Steven Spielberg, who you might know from Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, and Jaws. It stars Ty Sheridan, Olivia Cooke, Ben Mendelsohn, Mark Rylance, and Lena Waithe. The film is set in the year 2045, when much of humanity, escaping the desolation of the real world, uses the virtual reality software Oasis to engage in work and play. Wade Watts discovers clues to a hidden game within the program that promises the winner full ownership of the Oasis, and joins several allies to try and complete the game before indentured players working for a large company, run by Nolan Sorrento, played by Ben Mendelsohn, can do so. What are the pros?
I'm going to be honest with you. Right before the movie came out, like a week before the movie came out, I always thought the kid in the movie was Ansel Elgort.
Really?
Seriously?
Ty Sheridan kind of does look like him.
I know, but in the trailer, I thought like Ansel Elgort was doing like an ugly nerd who plays video games look. I honestly thought that it was Ansel Elgort until like a week before the movie, to where I actually looked at the IMDb page.
You know what Ty Sheridan is? He's a less good-looking Ansel Elgort, but a better-looking George from Dunkirk.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Whatever that guy's name is.
George.
What are your pros, Dan?
Like everything, man. I mean, like IGN came out earlier, couple days ago, and they have 138 Easter eggs in this movie, like hidden in, like, I mean, just every pop culture reference in there was like I got it. I'm a huge 80s guy, huge 80s TV, music, video game, movie guy, and I just loved it. I mean, it was just reference after reference. Like, there was so many things in it just built into the background, or it was thrown right in front of your face, and it was so enjoyable. And I just loved it for that. There were just so many things to just keep your eye on. But it wasn't distracting either. Like, if there were, I mean, I want to watch the movie a second time and like go in and see if I can see things in the background. But really, even with all of the references going on, the main plot stuck through, and you were still well aware of what the characters and their goals were. And even though there was a bunch of pop culture being thrown at you, like the story still went straight, and I really enjoyed it. Ansel Elgort, aka Ty Sheridan, was great. I just liked how the main cast of kids were just regular kids, and Steven Spielberg tends to do that in just kind of casting nobodies.
He's
unless,
great at working with kids.
Yeah, and working with kids that, you know, if he's not working with Tim Hanks or Meryl Streep. So I enjoyed the cast of kids. Ben Mendelsohn was awesome, and Mark Rylance played the best awkward video game antisocial guy ever. Like,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
like
I wonder if they were trying to like make it seem like he had Asperger's.
that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he took like he was just out of it, and he definitely is the type of guy you'd see like programming video games. But it's Mark Rylance. It was just really well done, and the story was awesome. And um, here's the thing though that I saw at like online reviews and everything after the movie, and people giving it like 1 out of 10 because it's not like the book.
Well, that's IMDb's poison. It's like
Yeah.
YouTube comment
Yeah,
section.
it's like
Yeah.
I've never read the book and I really enjoyed the movie, and it's like I get why people who read the book are like, angry that the movie didn't turn out like the book, but I've never hated a Harry Potter movie like because it was unlike the book. Sure, there are moments that I wish from the book that I wish were in the movie, but I don't hate the movie because it's in the book, and I'm just not factoring the book into my decision on whether or not this is a good movie because it is, in my opinion. So those are my positives. I have a lot of positives. I could just keep going.
Yeah.
So
Quick
Yeah.
thing.
Go ahead.
People aren't entirely positive on the book either. Some people are like really critical of its writing style because it was Ernest Cline's first book, and a lot of the criticisms of it are that it kind of just reads like fan fiction, meaning that it's not very like well written. Sometimes for like 2 or 3 pages he'll go on about just how good a Rush album is, and it just doesn't help the
Oh.
story at all. It's things like that. Oh, there's like over explanations of pop culture. So the book isn't gold either.
Yeah,
but
but
that's a
Steven
stupid way to criticize a
Spielberg
movie.
did a good job of avoiding the
Absolutely.
over endorsing. I
Yeah.
actually think, but I'm gonna go out and say I'm not gonna say it's the best written movie of the year, but the plot worked enough for me that this so far is my favorite movie of the year. I had just out of pure enjoyment. I'm sure this movie's gonna get nitpicked to death by some people, but as a nerd and as someone who has played video games and watched basically surrounded myself with those things my entire life, this movie felt like the culmination of all those things. I mean, it was so much fun. In every frame, there was something to find. So, just on pure enjoyment, the action, the comedy, it all worked so well and resonated with me. Like the scene when they're in a specific location from a movie from the 80s, I was shitting my pants laughing. I couldn't. It was amazing to me. And it was just so many things like that made this like warm and fuzzy feeling inside of me. I had like a nerdgasm watching it. So, I mean, yeah, so right now, definitely probably my favorite movie of the year. And as you said, all the reasons that Ty Sheridan was good. What I really liked about Ben Mendelsohn was his character's motives aren't like explained great, but he felt like a video game boss. Like you had to take down his overlords, but until you got to him, and he had his paws everywhere in the game, and he felt like a video game villain, which is what he had to do because that's what the movie's about. So I really enjoyed that, and my favorite part of the movie was Mark Rylance.
yeah,
I loved how they used him after his death and how they integrated him in the game, and I think he gave the movie a lot of heart, and it again gives people this untypical hero and person to look to, and I thought that was really cool, and I thought it was played really well, and just his line at the end where he's like, "Thanks for playing my game."
Yeah.
I thought that was so
It was
cool.
really cool.
So yeah, I loved it from start to finish.
Yeah. This is a very modern spin on a classic, uplifting. I almost just said Spielberg
You should have.
story. It's visually incredible, as you guys said. Like, I want to rewatch this and see everything again because you were just strapped in and blasted at 1,000,000 miles an hour through this really, really intricate world. And you saw good performances by Ty Sheridan and Olivia Cook. I haven't seen them in anything in my life before, but they were really standout. I thought they were awesome, along with the superstars Ben Mendelsohn and Mark Rylance. And actually, during the movie, several of the people were on the edge of their seats, literally, because that Spielberg directed action is just so good. Everything got wrapped in. You felt like you were in the battle. It wasn't just a long shot of us watching the battle. You were involved, and it was very, very, and it was really good.
Yeah. By the way, I know he's had some heat on him, but my God, T.J. Miller was awesome in this movie too. He cracked me up.
Rock.
I rock.
And
I rock. Yeah.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
Simon Pegg? Like, all right, well, no spoilers, but there's this like big reveal at the end, and I was like I think of that moment in the theater because I actually went like I was so excited. It was great. Like I love this movie so much, and like that reveal at the end was so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there when we talked about it in the apartment, but the heat on T.J. Miller is not real.
It's not, but again, it's been like taken by the media
Oh,
by
okay.
just and been contorted.
It for those listening, it is he had heat from a crazy ex-girlfriend who T.J. Miller's wife said was just like has been trying to tear apart their marriage for years. So she was just trying to do what's popular. But back to the movie.
That's why I just said the heat on him because I didn't want to
Okay.
get sidetracked. But yeah,
I just
that
didn't want
is
people
correct.
thinking
Yeah.
the wrong thing.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's totally fair. But yeah, yeah.
Cons.
Don't have any except for one. There was kind of like this side plot introduced with Wade's uncle that was kind of introduced and went nowhere, but really it didn't affect the overall movie because I still loved it thoroughly. But I guess if there was some sort of closure with Wade's aunt and uncle, like there was better closure there. I wish there would be, and then if it was that, like if there was that, then I would have like almost given this movie a perfect score because I loved it so much. But yeah, just that I felt like it was a little like thinking about it at the end of the movie. I was just like, wow, I guess that really just kind of went nowhere. But that's my only negative with the movie.
My only negative is after I thought about it a little bit, and while I do think it was needed to give the story a backdrop, and if it hadn't had it, the movie probably would have been like 10 to 15 minutes longer, is the use of narration. It is used at the beginning of the movie, then it's kind of abandoned, and then used at the end of the movie, and I'm like, I don't know if that was the best way to go about it. I could have watched this movie for another hour. So yeah, that was kind of my big one. Is it didn't keep to it throughout the story. If it had kept to it, then I would have been less critical. But I think it used it because it needed. It was kind of almost a lazy way of just explaining. Hey, this is the introduction to the world. Hey, this is the how it is now.
This movie, to its core, is all about people trying to escape reality and going into the oasis because their life isn't so good. It's harsh. But the movie never fleshes out why Wade is trying to escape in the first place. There's never anything telling us why he's driven other than that he has an idol. And I'm also holding this movie a little bit accountable because, as Mike was saying, the movie in its best parts is it's so good because it shows you everything. And then it tells us in the beginning just how the world is. They could have shown us that and it would have been dazzling, you know? And so I'm really holding it accountable for that because it is just so lazy, as you said. And also, like, it says the world economy is dependent on the Oasis, but it then doesn't explain how there's people that have jobs like the police officers or lawyers. These things needed to be ironed out for something that was so well designed in visual. It should have really narratively been a little bit more tight.
Especially when they set up what Artemis's reasons are for why she's playing the game. Those things needed to be, I think, a little more touched upon. I agree.
And I really would have been interested in how the world works now because the currency seems to be nostalgia as a commodity. So what does money have to do with anything now if the world economy is based on a video game? And so the whole theme of like their praise of a time gone by could have been interesting because how does the world work if it stagnates because it only values things in the past? Do people create anything new?
Yeah.
These are things I would have loved to have seen. It could have been a little more forward thinking like that. And I have a lot of stuff here. Much of the movie spent inside the game, and that's what made me want to like learn about the outside world. So that, and then one more thing. Us being nerds, we understand all the references in the movie, and a lot of times they were very like subtle and clever, and it worked, right? But other times there were some references in there that it was just so heavy-handed. It was like this is trying too hard. It was just like in your face. Like we did our research, guys. But to its credit, there were good like references throughout. I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
it just took me out of it. I was like, come on, really? But what's our score?
I'm giving it a 4.5. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm with Dan. I fanboyed out, so I found myself just engrossed the entire time. But I do see your complaints, but I just enjoyed it too much to really start looking at it.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 3.5. I was really blown away from most of it, but I couldn't get those things out of my head when I was out of the theater, and it just bothered me. So 3.5. And then
No, I
what's
see
our
that.
average score there?
4.2.
It's great. It deserves it. All right. Well,
Where would Jeff Goldblum have fit into this movie? Actually, he kind of did already. There was a reference to Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 references to Jeff Goldblum. There's a Fly reference and a Buckaroo
Right,
Banzai
right,
reference.
right.
Yeah.
is that what we have on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff Goldblum was kind of in this movie, but
Well, that's why it was good.
yeah. Yeah.
I'll definitely say if you're a nerd, this movie is 100% for you. But if you're not really in touch with pop culture, then I don't think it is. I think it is definitely like, while I do think it's an accessible movie, I think it's definitely catered towards nerdy individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
I'd say
think, like,
I'd
everyone
say
can
so,
find-
but even like I mean, I think everybody can find something in
Yeah.
this movie because, like, I mean, all right, I'm not gonna go in depth on it, but like anybody who just has ever seen The Shining will understand, or the music, like just the songs in it are recognizable. But I'm sure for people who aren't our age and kind of didn't grow up in the era of video games will still be able to enjoy movie or song references in there as well.
Is that all on our review there?
Yeah.
Sure.
We give a Ready Player One 4.2 out of 5 Goldblums on our Goldblum scale. Also in comments, let us know what you thought of the movie if you saw it, and if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's great.
For our main topic this week, I was thinking about the whole idea of they value nostalgia in this movie. I want to ask you guys, what makes you nostalgic? Things that you come across in life and it reminds you of a time gone by or of a time you never existed in.
I spent a lot of early years, probably the middle school and high school, on my couch playing video games. A lot of late nights with the boys, and whenever someone who I used to play with, because we've all gone our separate ways now. Like even this past weekend, my cousin was in, and we were just kind of shooting the shit, and he was talking about, hey man, remember when we used to play Horde and Gears of War? I was like, oh yeah, I do remember that. And it's like it brings you back a little bit, and then you start thinking about, oh, who'd we used to play with? Oh, how good did we do? And then you start thinking so much about it, and 20 minutes goes by. And so I always find myself being really nostalgic for video games. And usually it has to do with not just like, oh, it's a solo game and I've played it by myself. That doesn't get me nostalgic. But when it's like, brings me back to the people I used to play with, like, hey Mike, remember when we used to play Nazi zombies? And it's like, oh yeah, I do remember that. We had a 5-hour game one time. And it's just, again, you get lost in the conversation. So I find myself, the video games are a big one that are nostalgic for me, because you play these games for a period of time, and video games are all about what's hot.
Mm-hmm.
So then you pick up the new game that everyone's playing, and then you keep going and going and going, and 4 years have thought by and you haven't even thought about the game that you used to play. And it's always cool to come back to it and revisit it and be like, you know what, that was fun. And then you pop it in the Xbox or whatever it is, and you start playing it again, and it's not the same. I mean, it's fun, but it's not the same game. You don't get to have those memories again. It's almost like you're forcing them. Like, this is fun, but it's not like when we were all playing together. So, Yeah, video games especially get me nostalgic in that kind of time period when I was about 13 to 17 years old. 16 maybe.
That's what's so bittersweet about it is that you never can go back all the way. Like you can get reminded, but it's like you just are you're a different person when you
Yeah.
go back to it. It's really kind of bittersweet, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And that's like video games is obviously a big one for all three of us, but like you know like the music from video games as well. Like I still study to some of them. Like they're just great, and like hearing that music again, like you remember like the location of the game, like how far into the game it was when that soundtrack started playing and everything like that. But like I the when the conclusion to my favorite video game series hasn't come out yet, and it started when I was 5. Like I feel like it's just like the only thing kind of keeping me into childhood right now is that, and so like I haven't lost the feeling with those games that I have with other games, but like going back like the Crash Bandicoot remaster this past summer, like playing that again, it was like, yeah, it was fun, but I haven't touched those games since I completed them again because I got so mad and I remembered how hard it was, and it's just like, not everything because it's nostalgic brings back good memories. So, but I will get into music a little bit because like when I hear songs, like it always puts you back to a moment. Like you can remember a time or a few where like you heard that song and you knew where you were sitting. Like if you were in a car or like you were with certain people, you know where you were and what you were doing like when you were listening to that song.
Yeah,
And,
Piano Man's like ruined for me.
Piano Man, like I don't think I've listened to Piano Man in over a year because I like there was just like a peak point for that song for me and my friends, and I just don't want to you know like go back to it. It was that and
American Pie.
American Pie as well. I haven't listened to that song in a
Yeah.
very long time. And around the same time as well, "Welcome to the Black Parade" by My Chemical Romance, all at the same time. Like those three songs, like I've hit a peak for those three songs. Um, what else? "Lean on Me." I was listening to that song when I was packing for college, and like every time that song comes on, that's like the only moment I can think of. And what else? Um, "Don't Stop Believin'." I think of like the '05 Chicago White Sox because that was like their song. That was like their song. But like music can definitely do that. Music is like a nostalgic thing. Like it's just fun. But I like that a song can be like not necessarily ruined. Like I don't hate Piano Man. I don't hate American Pie. I don't hate Welcome to the Black Parade because like I listened to them too much and I like tired myself out of the song. I just felt like the moment and the memory for those songs is like it's past. So like the song will only ever be associated with like those memories.
I get nostalgic a lot from smells, specifically cut grass or fresh rain. For some reason, it just reminds me of
interested. I'm
I
interested.
love the rain smell, dude.
yeah. It makes you think of like places you were. Something about rain, and it just makes you kind of daydream, and just the smell of that just always brings me back to different things. So it's never a specific thing, but I get nostalgic when I get that earthy smell. And cutting grass, it's not like I had some sort of traumatic memory cutting grass. It's just like I think of places where there were grass.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful and sort of an underrated thing. Like smell goes a long way
No,
with things. And there are smells that will take you to a different place.
You and I reminisced on a smell the other day, like a couple
Goblin
weeks
piss.
ago. No.
No.
Where we were talking about like the smell of the park we used to play youth football at and like what the equipment and like the grass smelled like and like it took you right back. Like we both knew exactly the smell we were talking about and it's like we were 8 again.
Smells very much are a big vehicle for nostalgia. Like a restaurant, if you go there like years later, it'll still have the same smell, and you're like, "Oh my god, it's like I was just here
Yeah.
last week."
or when you're outside of say, just the smell of a restaurant that you're like, what is that? And then it's like, oh, that's like a Culver's over there, and it's just like, oh,
cheese
Culver's.
curds. And then you go right in, you get some cheese curds. You dip them in some ranch.
Or it's like our hallway right now.
That smells like pee. That's where I thought you were gonna go with it. That's why I laughed really loud at the beginning. It's just like, sometimes you just walk into a hallway and you're like, wow, that smells like piss.
I took a piss earlier that smells just like it. It smells like fresh urine in our hallway right now, and I'm really worried it was a person's piss. Because if it's a dog, it's like, well, okay, but people piss I don't want in the hallway. I'm worried about that.
The people across the hall don't have a dog, and I don't think anybody who lives down the hall with their dogs come down our place. No, I know, but they don't come down here. They have a staircase on their side. I don't know. I hope people aren't pissing on our door, and I hope dogs aren't peeing in the hallway.
I hope everyone's peeing where they should be.
Piss gets me nostalgic.
God, do I love piss? I remember this one time. I remember this one time where I was pissing outside in a forest, and then I got scared. Peed on my shirt a little bit.
So did that bring you back?
Yeah, someone jumped behind me and went like, ah! I was in grade school and I peed on my shirt a little bit because I went like, ah!
Anything else that makes you nostalgic?
Pooping makes me nostalgic.
Yeah, definitely.
You do it every day.
No, well, actually, if you're fucked in the head like I am and you remember, I don't know if it's necessarily a pooping or the act of holding in a poop, because there were several occasions where I had to hold in a poop for a very long time. One of those stories I told on an earlier episode of this podcast over the last summer. It was in the episode where we reviewed The Mummy, I think. Where we talked about poop. Yeah, I think that's why we talked about poop. And, so listen to that story because I'm not going to tell it again. But I have more than one of those stories where I know what I was doing, what I ate before, what was causing the poop, and why I couldn't poop when I wanted to, and why I had to hold it in.
It's a primal instinct.
Yeah.
What, shitting on somebody?
No.
No.
Having to poop.
Just pooping.
Anything else on this topic?
We covered music and video games and smells.
Those are big ones. Those are definitely big ones. I'd say like even so, because you can mostly rewatch movies with the same enjoyment. I don't get as nostalgic for movies as I do with like other things, because if I get nostalgic for it, I just buy it and watch it.
Depends. Like, I watched Hercules the other day, and like as a kid, I didn't watch Hercules too much. I guess I grew up and had like a better appreciation for it, and I've watched it more as an adult than I did as a kid. But before the Toy Story on the VHS, like they used to have like trailers or whatever play, and there was a Hercules trailer that played before the Toy Story VHS, and since the Toy Story VHS was being played a lot in my house, I remember like the trailer for Hercules, and like when I watched Hercules the other day, and when like a moment came up in the trailer, or when a moment came up in the movie, I like remembered the trailer before Toy Story, so it kind of like sent me back to when I was a kid watching Toy Story. There's also a trailer for the Mighty Ducks on the beginning of the...
With Emilio Estevez, who hasn't worked in ages.
Yeah.
I don't know if they took it out, but like recently, like within a few years, they still were playing clips of that movie before the Oregon Ducks like hockey team tournament, in their stadium. They were still playing clips of that movie. I hope they stopped.
Good. Well, the Anaheim Ducks, an actual professional
that's what I meant to say.
National Hockey League.
It could be Oregon.
Oregon's the football team. It's the Anaheim Ducks.
Well, Oregon is a
college.
university.
It's the NHL team.
But it is the Anaheim Ducks.
Anaheim Ducks.
Disney owns the Anaheim Ducks.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
God.
And their mascot's kind of like Donald Duck, but with a goalie mask on.
Does he go?
No.
Ducks don't make that noise. They go quack quack.
Yeah, but Donald makes that noise. And then Dan goes, snakes make the... noise.
It sounded like wind. You made that noise. Yeah.
We got to end this episode.
Yeah,
We're talking about nostalgia, and I remember I never got to learn about snakes and the noises they made because a stingray ruined my my go-to animal expert. Yeah,
Steve Dead Irwin.
yeah, right. Pierced his heart.
Any final thoughts before I close this out?
No. What makes you feel nostalgic? Let us know, and then Ready Player One, let us know, and then top 5 gunslinger cowboys, let us know, in the comments.
Are you an auctioneer?
Hey,
go to-
no, auctioneers go like this.
Dan is
Great
pointing.
visual radio.
Dan is pointing right now across the room.
And moving his tongue back and forth
I
like an
can't-
idiot. So next week we are seeing A Quiet Place,
Oh,
which is supposed to be fantastic.
It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and it's got Jim and not Pam, and
His real wife,
right? And it's very cute.
Emily Joint.
Yeah.
that was funny. To promote that episode, to promote that movie, next week's episode will be entirely silent. It's gonna be 3 hours.
Well, we're
Listen in.
gonna do it with Morse.
Okay, that'd be good.
Beep 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 beep.
Ski, bop, bop, bop.
There we go. Ski. Bop, 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 bop.
All right, time to.
All right,
close it out.
all right. And that is this week's podcast. Remember that each and every Monday morning we upload to YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Give us a follow on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with what we're putting out there each and every week for you. And as always, thank you for listening.
Love you guys.
What if God was one of us? Just a slob